And so it was, on the morning the stream turned red, that Eurymedike held its breath. The women who went early to the stream screamed and dropped their calabashes. The sound of shattering gourds echoed like bad omens through the waking village. What once flowed cool and clear now slithered red and thick, like the lifeblood of some wounded god. The men came running. The children stared wide-eyed. Even the goats fell silent. And when the Dibia came, old Iziamalu with bones like broomsticks and eyes like rain clouds, he knelt beside the strange water. He dipped his finger and touched it to his tongue. He frowned. He looked to the sky. And he said the words that made the cock stop crowing. "It is not blood," he said. "It is not water either." And there was fear. Fear as old as the trees. Fear that crawled under the skin like army ants in the dry season. Some said the gods were angry. Others whispered that the earth spirit, Allah, had been insulted. A few looked toward Mama Okomoka's hut and muttered the name they dared not say too loudly. Nadi. The girl of ash. The child of the sacred forest. The one who came from fire. Soon, the village square filled with trembling voices and restless feet. Mothers held their children close. Farmers left their hoes in the soil and gathered at the orji tree where the elders met. The air throbbed with unease. Flies buzzed louder than usual, and even the village dogs whined as if hearing something no one else could. The council of elders, their eyes sunken with age and their wrappers stiff with starch, called for an emergency gathering. Goat skins were spread upon the ground. Kola nuts were broken in haste. Palm wine passed from trembling hands. All the old chants were summoned. All the forgotten incantations dusted off like ancient mats. Iziamalu stood again at the center of the circle and raised his staff, carved from lightning-struck wood. "There is a rupture," he said, "between our world and the one that watches." He ordered that no one drink from the stream until a solution was found. The village maidens fetched water from a smaller, far-off spring, though even that tasted faintly of iron. The women lit clay lamps and hung amulets of cowrie shells at their doors. The hunters offered the blood of a wild goat to the spirits of the forest. Drummers were summoned not for dancing but for divination, beating rhythms that sought answers in sound. Smoke from sacred herbs filled the sky like grey birds looking for home. That evening, 3 Dibias from neighboring villages were called. One threw bones, another read the patterns in the ashes of burnt cloth, and the third simply sat with closed eyes, listening to something deep beneath the earth. None could give clear answers. Only warnings. "Something has awakened," they all said. "And it knows her name." The market was closed. No firewood was gathered. No child was allowed to wander near the trees. Even laughter, a sound that had always been plenty in Eurymedike, became rare, like a precious stone that might vanish if touched. Old women wept without knowing why. Young men sharpened machetes, though no enemy had shown face. The nights became longer. The winds colder. Dreams darker. And always, someone would whisper, "Where is the girl?" But where was she? Not in the market. Not in the fields. Not in Mama Okomoka's compound, where the cooking pot was cold and the mat lay empty. That night, as the sun sank behind the hills like an old man falling into his final sleep, Mama Okomoka sat before a fire that would not dance. She placed 7 kola nuts on the earth. She called on the spirits of her mother's mother. She called on the names that are not written, only whispered. She said, "If she has gone to the forest, let the forest speak. If she has gone to the gods, let the gods answer. If she walks among spirits, let them know she was loved. But the fire only flickered. It did not speak. Now hear this, children of the land, for this is what happened beyond the yam fields, where the trees grow thick and the wind does not gossip. Neddy walked. She walked barefoot through the bush, guided by no eyes but the ones inside her chest. The fong, the black one that pulsed like a second heart, lay hidden against her skin. And though the birds perched above her in silence, though the animals watched from behind trees, not one touched her. For fire walks with its own shadow. And fire fears nothing. At the edge of the world, where the path disappears and the land forgets its name, Neddy came upon a clearing. In the middle stood a mound shaped like a woman kneeling. Vines were her hair. Mud was her skin. Her mouth was sealed with roots. At her feet was a pool, not water, not wine, not palm oil. Red, and still, and waiting. Neddy knelt. She looked into the pool. And the pool looked back. But it did not show her face. No, children, it showed the face of another. A woman with fire braided into her hair. A woman whose eyes were suns. A woman who opened her mouth, but whose voice came from the wind. You carry the fire. You carry the memory. You carry the gate. And the mound behind her cracked. Out of it stepped a shadow wrapped in tattered cloth. His face was hidden behind a mask carved from cursed wood. Smoke curled from his eye holes, and his breath smelled like burnt feathers and forgotten graves. He laughed, a laugh that made the trees lean away. And he said, "So the last ember still breathes. I have waited many seasons, child of flame. Your fire almost died." Neddy rose. She did not tremble. She held the fong in her palm like a warrior holds her blade. And she answered. But it did not. The wind paused. The spirit's voice grew colder. The door is old. It remembers me. And through it, I shall return. He raised his hand, and the earth groaned. The mound split. Fire licked the sky. A tunnel opened, deep, dark, filled with the breath of things that have no names. The gate had found its key. And the battle that was once ended had begun again. So remember, children, when the stream runs red and the fire speaks in tongues, it is not always a curse. Sometimes, it is a calling. And when the fire child walks into the mouth of the world, know this. The story is far from over. The story is only folding its legs.